Okay. Proverbs 23, verse 27 and 28. Proverbs 23, verse 27 and 28. Please read, Sister Gabby.
Porque abismo profundo es la ramera y pozo angosto la extraña. También ella, como robador, acecha y multiplica entre los hombres los prevaricadores.
Okay.
For a prostitute is a deep pit, and an immoral woman is a narrow well. She lurks and lies in wait like a robber who waits for prey, and she increases the faithless among men.
Now I tell you, ladies, we don't have many sermons on these scriptures, but they are for us. They are to us to help other women and young women and little girls that are coming on up to teach them the ways of the Lord. And what I love about God's word, he just puts it out there just like it is. He doesn't dress it up. He doesn't fix it up. He tells it the way it really is. And my rendering says, for a whore is a deep ditch, and a strange woman is a narrow pit, and that she's like a robber. She sets her aim at and she for her prey, and that's what she does. And I always looked at it, used two different terms. It says the harlot, and then it says the strange woman. And so we need to look at both of those characteristics that can be in a woman. Believer's Bible says a prostitute is like a deep, concealed pit, forming a trap for the careless. She can also be a strange woman. She is a narrow well. You think you're going to be refreshed, but instead it's easy to fall into, but hard to get out of. She lies in wait like a robber. She may even have a psychological hatred for men, and she wreaks her revenge on them by entangling them. And she entangles them through deception. Like one hooks a fish with a lure. Daily, she adds to the list, or to her list, of unfaithful men whose marriages and families are torn apart because she's used of Satan. And he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And the teachings that are going out now and the pictures in this modern time is how this woman is. She's voluptuous and she's half naked most of the time, and she pouts and she yells and she's demure and enticing and seductive, but either way, it's meant to destroy. Now I like that. Believer's Bible says she may have a pathological hatred for men. She could have grown up in a household that wasn't favorable, and it made her angry at men. And so she uses her body and her ways to trap them, to hurt them, to bring them down. She could have been in a mistreated love affair. And that revenge gets in her, and she's after to take every man down that she can. She could have been married and had a husband that was abusive. And she has in her mind, never again will anybody do this to me again. I'm going to have the upper hand. And so these are things that could go on in the mind of a young lady and a young man. She may be a pretty girl who never had any problems having attention, but she has no depth in her. She has no substance in her. She thinks the world revolves around what she looks like and the attention she can get. And when life is hard, she cannot cope with it. And therefore, sometimes men use that type of young woman. And then it builds a hatred in them to where they want to bring all men down if they can. Kaufman's commentary says, there is an introduction here of two classes of unchaste women. The harlot and the adulteress. But the same destructive characteristics are ascribed to both of them. Constable's expository note says, our culture glamorizes sexual promiscuity. That's the word I'm trying to get at. But these verses reveal the true consequences of the promiscuity. The consequences are entrapment, constraint, painful loss, and treachery. For the young girl today in our society is being taught, she's talking out of both sides of her mouth. She's exposing her body to be looked at and then angry because men say seductive things to her. She wants respect, but she wants to act like an unchaste woman. You can't have them both. I hope it's ladies listening out there. I hope it's daughters listening out there. I hope it's mothers with daughters that teach them how to be the type of woman that God wants her to be. Only dogs, and you know what they call female dogs, only they attract every male. This is tough, but it's right. I know it's right. It's good. And we are not teaching these things to our young women, and they're following the stars, the glamour, because it's glamorized. The TV, the reality shows, how nasty and ugly and provocative you can get. So that's why they go and come to school with short pants on and slit up the side and their bosoms out and painted up, because they are following the glamorized version of how to be a woman. And it's getting them trafficked, because this old world is a cruel, hostile, depraved world. So there are people watching those girls and taking them and selling them to other countries. And they're never seen again. That's the truth of how it is. It glamorizes sexual promiscuity. But these verses reveal how it really is. Two types are in view. The unmarried, the Hebrew word for her is zonah. She's called a harlot or prostitute. And the married, that word is nokriyyah. It is an adulterous woman, or she's called a wayward wife. Pulpit commentary says these verses indicate the seductive nature of the vice of unchastity, the loose person. How easy it is to be led into, and how difficult it is to rise from it. Thus it is said, when by unclean desire the soul is made captive, even as a cloud and mist darken the eyes of the body, so that desire intercepts the foresight of the mind. Just as the clouds come over and the mist and you can't see good, that unclean desire of the soul, it blinds you. You can't sleep. Oh, this is good, ladies. You can't see clearly. You don't see. It intercepts. In other words, it comes in between good sense, foresight. The enemy never tells you or shows you the end of the thing. He just shows you the excitement of the beginning. Am I making sense? It's true. And he grabs the mind, because in our flesh, mine, yours, is no good thing. Okay? That thing, that desire of the unclean desire, suffers no one to see any distance before them. They see about as far as you see right there. Either by they don't see the precipice, that means the cliff they finna walk off into, or the hell they finna go through. They don't hear what's being said to them because they cloudy. They don't see good. But this for having that deceit as a tyrant over them, he becomes too easily vanquished by sin, and therefore it's raised up like a partition wall with no windows in it. Lord have mercy. Those girls get caught in that, and it's like this wall here that don't have no windows, no light. You can't see out. You're just in that dark tunnel. Didn't they say she's like a deep pit? She's like a well you can't escape from. Which lets in not a ray of righteousness to shine upon the mind. It won't even let not even a little ray of light. You know, ray is not big. It is, okay, little stream of light. It won't let no righteousness in. Okay, I know I'm telling you right, because haven't you told them, don't dress like that, baby. You need something on. Next day they come dressed the same way. They caught in that tunnel. After you capture the person's mind and capture the harlot, the prostitute that plies her trade, once she captures that guy, okay, he's in the deep ditch. He's in the narrow well, and he can't get out. The unchaste woman, she's everywhere. She's meeting him everywhere he goes. He can't get out his mind. She's before his eye. Ooh, this is good. That's what pornography does. It gets in the mind, and it stays before your eyes. And everywhere you go, you see it. It's before his eyes. It's before his mind. It's in his thoughts. And he is as the blind, although they stand at high noon beneath the very central point of heaven, they receive no sight. And though 10,000 messages of salvation sound in their ears, they are preoccupied with the passion of the woman. And it's bad enough to think of it, but when you actually experience it, oh, how damaging. It damages the psyche, it damages the mind, it damages the habits, it damages the thought life, it damages your purpose, it damages your goal, it damages your body, it damages. This warning is for young and old. Come on now, mothers. You know your children. You can tell one is more than the other. You can see that. Well, you need to work on that. You need to get that under control right then, because the world is beckoning. And then one is gullible. Okay, all right. I want a friend. I just need a friend. I don't care what you do. It's okay. No, you're not. It's okay. You need to work on that and help them to be what they need to be an individual, that you don't go along with everything. And everything you see is not good. It looks good, but it's not good. The harlot is a deep ditch. The strange woman is the adulteress. Verse 28 says she also lies in wait for her prey and increases the transgression among men. It just keeps going, keeps going. She is faithless, not faithful. Uncleanness, this is good, ladies, leads to faithlessness of many kinds. It makes not only the husband unfaithful to his wife, but it makes the son unfaithful to his parents, the scholar unfaithful to his teacher, and the master, the servant, unfaithful to the master. It just perpetuates itself. It just keeps going on and on and on. I do it. You see me do it. It gets in your mind. You did it. You got away with it. You do it. You do it. You think you're getting away with it. You see it. You do it. You see it. It just keeps going on and on and on. Woo. Wow. It goes from one, not only in as much as she entices now one and now another into her net, this increases the number of those who are faithless toward mankind. But above all, they are faithless toward God. The adulteress increases the faithless among men. And she makes faithlessness of a manifold kind common in human society. It causes social decay. Check out the church. Check it out. Paul said these things shouldn't even be named among you as believers. Oh, we don't like to talk about this. Because you know what? When you start talking like this, you know what we say? You don't forgive. They ain't got nothing to do with it. It's got to do with what's going on. Yeah. We don't want to talk about it. But it happens, and it's happening, and it will happen, and we need to address it among the ladies in the body of Christ. So we can teach our daughters, our children, how to be the kind of person, young woman, that God desires. Bible reference commentary says, this Hebrew phrasing of this verse 27 implies the entire category of sexual temptation. The two examples represent what the modern person might distinguish as fornication and adultery. The prostitute tempts others for money or for sport, just because she can. She know he's going to look. She know he's going to taste. Hey, it don't mean nothing to her. She just does it because she can do it. The adulteress represents those who betray others in their sin. She's already committed to someone, but she betrays that one she's supposed to be committed to and goes after somebody else. When you get home, let's look at Proverbs 6. (27). Go ahead.
¿Tomará el hombre fuego en su seno sin que sus vestidos ardan?
Okay, what did you say?
Can a man scoop a flame into his lap and not have his clothes catch on fire?
What can he? Can you put flames in your lap and your clothes don't catch on fire? That can't happen, can it? So when you are fooling around with this sin, you're the one that's going to get burned. Okay? You're going to get burned. Spurgeon's exposition, he puts it down like definitions. Prostitute, she hunts, she traps, and she ambushes. She ambushes. Many a man married today was hunted, trapped, ambushed. Adulteress, she's unfaithful. This implies foreigners, strangers. She was not an Israelite. This is the time this was written. She was a strange woman, they called her, because she wasn't born an Israelite. So it also suggests she had departed from her covenantal faithfulness. She made a vow to love this person and be only with this person. And when they came from one nation to Israel, they were considered strange because they were not Israelites. So she was called the strange woman because of that. Deep pit means dark, entrapment, danger, difficult to, it's hard to get out of it. It's easy to get into, but it's hard to come out of it. And many don't escape. Narrow well, means it's restrictive. Don't call my house. Who is that on the phone? Nobody. Where are you going? To the store. So-and-so said they saw you on the phone at the store. Who was you talking to? Oh, nobody. I had to call the office and I forgot. See, it's restrictive. You don't have free movement. Because you got yourself in that well and you can't get out. It promises refreshment. You know, like a well, a fresh well. I don't know, maybe none of you have had well water. That's some of the best water you could ever have. It's so clean and clear. Well, it promises that, but once you get in it, it's just confinement. Dark, dank confinement. Just as physical adultery is a betrayal of marital vows, spiritual unfaithfulness is betrayal of our covenant with God. Just as physical adultery is a betrayal of marital vows, spiritual unfaithfulness is a betrayal of our covenant with God. We must remain vigilant and faithful in our relationship with God. We must remain faithful and vigilant in our relationship with Him. Sin often presents itself as alluring. Come on over here. Go there. Do this. We like to be places where there's no accountability. Don't ask me nothing. Don't tell me nothing. Don't say nothing to me about what I'm doing. Just love me. Let me be free. Sin often presents itself alluring and harmless, but it leads to entrapment and spiritual death. You are dry up like a dead gourd. A community of believers provides, and engaging with a community of true gospel Bible believers provides accountability and support, and it helps us to resist temptation and remain faithful. Oh, it's too boring. Not enough action. Not enough activity. Not enough freedom. Don't get to express myself. But being in that, if your heart loves the Lord, it will help you to be accountable and resist temptation and help you to remain faithful. When you go home, look at Proverbs 7 and read that whole picture. I'll read 2 verses, 24 and 27. 24 through 27 says, "Now therefore listen to me, my children, and pay attention to the words of my mouth. Do not let your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her path." Whose path? The adulteress or the harlot? "For she has cast down many wounded, and all who were slain by her were strong men. Her house is the way to hell, descending to the chamber of death." But you read that whole chapter. It's got something to say. Solomon understood. Now, if anybody understood, a man with 300 wives and 700 concubines, he ought to understood something. Solomon understood that adultery and sexual immorality does not begin in the glands, does not begin in the hormones. Oh, this is good, y'all. It begins in the heart. And they don't begin in the heart in a romantic sense. Oh, I tell you, this is good, ladies. A heart that does not properly love and desire God, but loves and desires pleasure more, will turn aside to sexual immorality. If the heart turns aside, ladies, guess what? The feet will follow. It begins in the heart. Remember our last week's lesson? Give your heart to God. It starts in the heart, in the will, in the desire. That's where it starts. It don't start in the glands and the hormones. It starts in the heart. Many people have had their reputations, their health, their money, and even their lives destroyed by sexual immorality. Let me say this. Remember it said in that verse about she brings down strong men? Well, that word is meant heroes. Many of the people are renowned. They looked up to. They are loved. They're followed by others. And then, bam, they're dead. And they never get back to where they were. God uses them, but it's destructive. And that's what it's meant to do. The way, her ways are way to hell, and the chamber of death. The death of your reputation, the death of your family, the death of your money, the death of your job, the death of your health, the death of your mind. You just crumble. The power of temptation and the tempter lies in concealing this result. When you don't talk about it, when you don't make it plain, let it be known. This is what happens when you do that. It can destroy you. But wisdom helps you to see what is concealed. You know that girlfriend that's always telling you need somebody and you watch, but wisdom says, okay, watch her. Let's see how she doing. How's she doing? Oh, no thank you. Never mind. Wisdom takes the cover off and shows the picture just like it is. This is good. Her bedroom is no ballroom, but it's a battlefield. Wow. The harlot, the adulteress, the seductive woman, the one that's flashing eyes and flashing body parts and trying to entrap for whatever reason. Hatred or hang-ups or money or to feel like you somebody. My grandmother used to ask, you don't know who you are? For a long time I didn't. I didn't know who I was. I was looking everywhere. And when I was writing this up, I just could have screamed. I could have screamed, ladies. He looked beyond all my faults. Because I thought at one time, that's how you did it. Because I had those examples, and because it was exciting, and because I liked it, and because I wanted it. I can't blame everybody else. Those other things were factors. Well, boy, this makes you somebody. The guys, hey, yeah, hi. And I often tell that story of me cutting those pants until you could show the thigh. I wanted the thigh to show. Everybody's going, who's going to look at your knees? Nobody wants to see your knees. Well, let's show them thighs. That's what gets the adrenaline going and wants somebody to talk to you. And the minute I got them up to the thigh, my grandmother said, throw them in the trash. Ma'am, those pants you've been cutting on all week, throw them in the trash. You look like a trollop, a prostitute. I didn't know what that word meant, but I knew it wasn't a nice word. And I cried. Oh, my grandmother could call me a trollop. And she said, why are you still in here crying and carrying on? You said I was a trollop. She said, I did not say you were a trollop. I said you look like a trollop. Now let's get down to brass tacks. You can be in the church, be there every Sunday, and act like a trollop. And the only person you fooling is yourself. Because you're certainly not fooling God. Because he sees the heart. He knows the heart. You're not fooling him. Because in your mind, in your heart, you're desiring a different type of attention. Don't you know God knows that? I tell you what else. The man will know it too. It depends on how you carry yourself. They are not stupid. They were made, men and women were made to attract each other. But oh, look at the death of Samson. He wasn't supposed to get a strange woman. His parents had raised him up to know the true and living God. But that's what he wanted. He kept going after them strangers. And then he met one that she took down strong men. And her name was Delilah. And she did it for money. And he lost his eye. Y'all know this is good. He lost his eyes. They captured him and took out his eyes. Wow. But that's what that'll do to you. Didn't I just read that? Mm-hmm. It'll blind you. It'll mist you. You can lose your foresight. You can't see. You hook up with the wrong person. It follow you the rest of your life. If it wasn't for the Lord, it'll kill you. But since the Lord is full of mercy, grace and truth and cleanliness and purity, he clean your life up. And you'll never be the same. And those that remember, they keep, I remember, well, you probably do, but that's not how it is now. Since Jesus came into my heart, what a wonderful change he has wrought. But you know what? We need to be teaching before they fall into that. Don't wait for them to fall into it. Help them as much as you can before then. Tell them how it really is and what it'll really do to you. What a lesson.